In this recording, I want to demonstrate how to use models to represent multiplication of mixed numbers. And I want to do this in two parts. The first part, I want to discuss how we're going to set up our rectangles in order to work these particular problems or to construct these diagrams. And then in the second part, we'll actually talk about how we shade our diagram or our model and look at different overlapping sections to help us represent the product of the mixed numbers that we're going to be dealing with. So let's look at this. Let's suppose I have the mixed number 2 1/3 times 3/4. Now, all I want to do right now is figure out three things. The first thing I want to know is how many rectangles do I need? Okay, how many rectangles do I need? And this is how we figure that out. Let's look at this first fraction, 2 1/3, and let's think about the largest whole number, not the largest whole number, but the next whole number that's larger than 2 1/3. The next whole number that's larger than 2 1/3 is the whole number 3. And if I look at this fraction, this is a proper fraction, which is not quite a whole, but if we want to think about the whole number that's the first whole number that's larger than 3/4, it's 1. Now if we take those two numbers together, these two numbers are 3 times 1, the 3 and the 1, and we multiply them together. 3 times 1 gives us 3. So that tells me I'm going to need 3 rectangles. So that's what I know so far. I need 3 rectangles. Now let's figure out how tall and how wide those rectangles need to be. So first, let's think about how tall they need to be. Well, that's pretty easy to figure out as well. All we need to do is look at the denominator of this first fraction. So our rectangle need to be 3 units. Oops. 3 units tall. And then we need to figure out how wide we're going to make them. And we get that by looking at the denominator of the second fraction. That's a 4. So we want those rectangles to be 4 units wide. So how does this look? If I want to construct 3 rectangles that are 3 units tall and 4 units wide, they're going to look something like this. Now I like to go down the page when I'm drawing my rectangles if I'm only going to have one column of them. So here's my first one. This needs to be 3 units tall and 2 units wide. I'm sorry, 4 units wide. 3 units tall, 4 units wide. That's one rectangle. I need another one. That's 3 units tall and 4 units wide. And I need one more. 3 units tall, 4 units wide. And we'll talk about how we're going to split these up in part 2. So let's look at another example. Let's suppose I wanted to construct rectangles for 1 3/4 times 2 1/2. All right, first of all, how many rectangles do I need? If we look at this first fraction, the next whole number that's larger than 1 3/4 is 2. And the next whole number that's larger than 2 1/2 is 3. So I'm going to need 2 times 3, or 6 rectangles. And if I want to know how tall each of those rectangles will be, they're going to be 4 units tall. And if I want to know how wide they're going to be 2 units wide. So what does that look like? I need 6 rectangles. They need to be 4 units tall and 2 units wide. Let's go down the page for the 2, and let's go across the page for the 3, and that's going to give us our 6 rectangles. So let's look at this. We have one of our rectangles, so we need 2 of them coming down, and this needs to be 4 units tall and 2 units wide. We need another one, 4 units tall, 2 units wide. And then going across, I need to have 3 of them. All right, so there are my 6 rectangles. I have 6 rectangles that are 4 units tall, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they all are 2 units wide, 1, 2. Let's look at another example. Let's suppose I have 2 1/3 multiplied by 2 1/4. How many rectangles do I need? For the 2 1/3, the next whole number that's larger than 2 1/3 is 3. For the 2 1/4, the next whole number that's larger than 2 1/4 is also 3. So now I'm going to need 9 rectangles. How tall are those rectangles going to be? Those rectangles are going to be 3 units tall. How wide will they be? They're going to be 4 units wide. So let's look at this first fraction. Let's go down our page for our first 3 rectangles. So I need 9 rectangles. They need to be 3 units tall and 4 units wide. 3 units tall, 4 units wide. 3 units tall, 4 units wide. That's 3 of them. Okay, now we're going to go across our page. 3 units down, 4 units across. 3 units down, 4 units across. 3 units down, 4 units across. 3 units down. Oops. 3 units down, 4 units across. 3 down, 4 across. 3 down, and 4 across. All right, so that's the very first thing we need to be able to do if we're going to represent multiplication of mixed numbers with models. So keep in mind, when you do this first number, we want that many rectangles going down, and the second number, we want that many rectangles going across. And we'll talk about how we're going to break these up in the next section.